Yeah, you probably thought I forgot about this. I didn't. I've just been putting it off for 6 months to be exact. And because we never really finished the game, but now I'm firm in saying that we finished it because the only content we didn't complete are the challenges and looting every zone, and that's stupid. And we looted 75% of the locations, so fuck you, game. You're probably not wondering why I didn't do this for so long, so I'll tell you anyway. The series, it pulls at my heartstrings. I mean, we did it. I mean, we did all of it. It was commitment, and it was special, and it was a really good time, and there was just a lot of peace and happiness, and I didn't really want to say goodbye to it, but I just bought every Call of Duty game, so yeah, I'm saying goodbye to it. Let's do it.
Although, it's been a long time coming, but let's talk about Far Cry New Dawn.
Graphics, 9 out of 10, because the game's built off the Far Cry 5 engine, it's a 9 out of 10. Same rating, and because it was released the year that Ryan and I played it, we're assuming that the graphics are as good as video game graphics can possibly be in this genre of games, but perfection is rarely possible, so it makes sense that it gets a 9. It's 2019, guys. No room for error here.
Graphics. I give it a 10 out of 10. I think it's really pretty. Lots of vibrant colors, the flowers. It all looks like Montana, but on the outside it's kind of nuked out. It's all grown over, and I really like that aesthetic. It feels like a post-bombing apocalypse kind of thing. You know?
Gameplay, 6 out of 10. Don't hate me. I'm probably blind in my nostalgia here, but this did not feel like a Far Cry game at all. The tiered gun system gave the game more of an RPG feel that made it feel like first-person Division. Ryan actually liked it, but he didn't play the last 6 games, so I don't think he fully grasped how unnatural it felt. I'm no longer one of those boomers that's like, bring back these old Far Cry games, these new ones suck, but it really didn't feel like a Far Cry game. I want to be able to go into a huge outpost with only a pistol and use my skill and experience that I gained in other games to be able to capture it completely silently and feel proud of myself. But with the tiered gameplay system, it's not possible at all. You can't take down certain enemies that are a certain amount higher than you, and your guns do piss poor damage. And this is a great game, but I don't know what game it is. It's not far.
Gameplay. I'd give it like 8.5. Pretty good. The wingsuit feels nice and, you know, all that. Driving's alright. There wasn't anything too egregiously special. You know, the fishing was okay. But nothing really outstanding.
Controls, 9 out of 10. This will be the last time I have to hate talking about controls unless it becomes a recurring sector to rank in future franchises I play. But for now, I'm going to bitch out on it. It's 9 out of 10, same as Far Cry 5.
Controls. I'd give it like another 8.5. They feel just fine. Didn't have any real complaints with them. They worked what you wanted them to do. They were a Far Cry control.
Story, 5 out of 10. This is retarded. It's not going to take as big of a blow as characters, but it's still retarded, especially in comparison to its predecessors. This story is mad dumb. Like, you literally get your shit jacked by Tina Turner and her twin sister, and this one guy gets granted at the beginning, and then everyone tells you to go apeshit until they're dead. And then Seed is back in this game, and that's kind of cool, but you kill the twins, and then it just kind of ends. Until you remember that Joseph is still alive, and he has a son, and then his son turns into a fucking werewolf. And the last bit of sanity this franchise had is out the window. At this point, Far Cry 6 will make or break this franchise. It is on a diagonal, and there is no balancing point. Far Cry 6 will either send the game over the cliff into the abyss of money laundering and phenomenons and ruin the Far Cry franchise with obliviously stupid shit, or it'll show that, like Far Cry 5, this franchise is here to stay and can develop into modernism into a fun, sane way that remains true to its roots for the most part and keeps fans entertained. So what's your move, Ubisoft? But no, really, the execution was pretty good, but the story that got executed was shit. I'm totally going to glorify the Judge connection, but I'm going to do that more in characters, so hang tight.
Story. I'd give it like 5. It was okay. The two sisters, they were kind of an interesting duo. I think my favorite part is when we went up and saw the crazy guy in the mountains. I can't remember his name. The guy who was the main antagonist of 5. He was pretty interesting, but most of the story kind of fell through. It didn't really grasp me in any way.
Characters, 4 out of 10. I'm going to be honest, these characters are pretty dumb and boring. The villains were weak, there was a werewolf, which was fucking insane. Nick Rye's back, and that was kind of heartwarming, but his daughter's pretty lame, and there's this one dude that gets granted at the beginning, and that's dumb, and then Rush dies, and you feel nothing, but the game expects you to feel something when you're sitting at his grave at the end of the game with Rye's daughter. The villains are so emotionless that Ryan felt comfortable enough to shoot the optional one in the chest like 12 times with a shotty, and there are no redeemable... Wait. Oh, yeah! You, the junior deputy, is alive from Far Cry 5 and is consumed by guilt and doesn't talk and works for New Eden now, and the game nails the Easter egg perfectly. They include just enough information to confirm it without milking it and overstating it, and it's just classy.
Characters. I give it like a 3. Most of them are really bad, and I hardly remember any of them, and you don't want that out of a good game. That's all you really could say. There wasn't too many. I mean, you got your introduction of Herc again, like in the other games, but the running guy, he wasn't there that much. You didn't do a whole lot with him.
Level design, 7 out of 10. Okay, these missions were actually kind of fun, not gonna lie. While the fundamentals of this game limit the missions to either be killing, stealing, or blowing shit up or driving, there are a lot of unique ideas here. For example, the NASCAR mission where you have to kill everyone death race style to save Herc's wife, which exists now, is pretty interesting, and there are a few other notable missions like that. The expeditions were cool and breathed added life into the game, and the fact that you only had to do them on 3 different tiers to gain 100% completion didn't really kill us with repetition.
Level design. It was alright. Nothing too special. I would give it a 6. Yeah. They didn't really put any extra effort into it over like any other game. And it kind of felt worse than 5 and their DLCs, except for Hours of Darkness. Yeah.
Weapons, 8 out of 10. I didn't really explore the entire arsenal because the tier system broke the fundamentals of the game, so you could only really be proactive with a few guns. Variety aside, the guns are pretty neat though. I loved how everything was like Mad Max style, hodgepodge, pieced together with different parts and pieces of scraps. One of the things that really stuck out to me was the pop can silencers. That was really neat. And really the whole steampunk vibe was pretty cool. And since it was technically a DLC, even though it was standalone, the game is a little too short to experiment with everything. Doing all the challenges probably would have given us more time to mess around, but they were literally so insignificant that it didn't feel necessary, especially after Ryan called it a wrap on Far Cry.
Weapons. I thought they were really solid. I would give them a 10 out of 10. I liked how they upgraded and you could infinitely scale. Even though you couldn't have all the individual customizations, I thought it was really fucking nifty how they did it. And, you know, with the introduction of, like, the whole expedition system, I thought that was pretty cool.
AI, 2 out of 10. With the entire concept of stealth gameplay lost to the tiered weapons system, there is nothing redeemable about the already horrible AI. I can literally watch these fuckers spawn. I did it at least 24 times while we played. And oh yeah, remember the detection meter that became so vital throughout the franchise? Yeah, that's meaningless now. It exists, but it shouldn't because it's useless. This game is rigged, and I'm convinced that the detection is purely range-based. Brush, no brush, running, not running. You just get detected whenever you're in a certain range. You can sprint up to the wall of behind a building, and instead of the NPCs coming to investigate the area until they find you, if they find you, your detection meter just fills up as soon as you make noise, obscured or not, and they know exactly where behind that cover spot that you're at. The strength scaling is broken and rigged to accommodate that RPG-style gameplay, and the elite animals were the only redeeming quality about the AI, and that's only because they were good and fun from a gameplay standpoint. Their lines of code are literally busted. I looked. I didn't look. But believe me.
AI. 5 out of 10. They weren't that smart, and they also kind of just, like, appeared out of nowhere. And the animals, they seemed cool, but they also just kind of ran around. And I saw more than a couple glitches with the AI in this game.
Presentation, 9 out of 10. If the game is trying to save itself, for the most part, did it right here. The setting is unique because it's not immediately post-apocalyptic. It takes place several decades after the meltdown, and it doesn't look all war-torn and ashy. Instead, there are lots of colors and pretty overgrowth of flowers and a unique interpretation of an alternate climate with enhanced nature and wildlife. That's an interesting take on what a nuke may do to a climate 20-some years after a nuclear blast. And while I'm sure most of it is fictional and none of it makes sense scientifically, it's still really cool. The game looks really good, and it's almost enough to save itself here.
Presentation. I like it. I'll give it like 9. I feel like the cutscenes were cool. The thematic over of how they're displaying it to you. You know, the whole, this place was nuked. Look at it. Hey. Wow. All nuked like. I think it's really nifty. Solid.
User interface, 7 out of 10. By default, it gets the same rating as 5, even though the UI was different because of the new way guns worked, but it's been 6 months, so I really don't remember what it was like, so let's just press the skip button on this one.
user interface. It's okay. I'd give it a 7. Nothing too much to complain or bless about.
Sounds, 9 out of 10. The sounds are really neat and immersive, and I love the different unique sounds animals make and how fierce they are, which makes them intimidating, which is especially fitting if you're fighting an elite tier animal. Which also, side noting, is something I didn't say in presentation. I love how they're coated in moss. That looks really sweet. The nature's amplified, which syncs with their take on the atmosphere, and everything flows really, really well.
Sounds. I feel like they're pretty good. The whole distance, you can hear like animals, yelling off in the distance and roaring or whatever the fuck you may have. I think that's pretty cool. Guns sound good. Cars sound good. Yeah.
Music, a 10 out of 10. Dude, this music fucking slaps. I love the radio music, and even though I despise it because it got me like 4 copyright strikes, there's nothing more fitting than a grungy alternative hip hop in this game. There are some serious fucking bangers in here, and I kind of resent it because if there was an opportunity to include Death Grips into a Far Cry game, this is it, and they didn't, but nobody but me likes Death Grips, so can I really be mad? Also, the idle music on the pause and main menus is super overwhelming and brought on a ton of nostalgia, and even though it's the same jingle from 5, I think, really good.
Music. I really liked it. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I think the whole like rap, but also like early music and how some of the music is treasured, like artifacts or whatever. I think that's pretty nifty. I like the aesthetic, the kind of like the Mad Maxy almost kind of thing going. Pretty nifty. Overall, I'd give this game like 6.5. Really kind of after a while it falls through. Like the first, I'd say 3/4 of the game, pretty good. But like if you're trying to do all the stuff in the game just gets so fucking repetitive and boring.
Overall, 6 out of 10. It's not the best, but it's certainly not the worst. The fact that they were able to make it look aesthetically pleasing because of the lack of limitations from present-day game-producing technology saves a lot of face, but overall, it's just not a great game. And Ubisoft confirming the production of at least 2 more Far Cry installments, I'm really bitter that we chose to do this series now, at this point in time, where we had to end it on this note, with this installment. But Ryan and I plan on playing the next 2 when they come out, so it isn't truly the end. But for now, it is. We had fun with these.